everyone, welcome back to the Books of Morgan, or welcome to for the very first time. I'm Morgan and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. So I read a total of 7 books in the month of April, which is not as much as I would like. I know that in March I read 8 books, so I guess like 7 is pretty comparable. But I've just been feeling so slumpy. I had so much time to do reading and I just ended up watching a lot of Netflix, a lot of Vampire Diaries, and like I've been feeling really sad too because of the stay-at-home order. I could technically be done with school right now, but I have one more essay to turn in. I'm graduating from college. I'm unemployed. Things are really scary right now and I just haven't been able to focus on reading. And also my birthday was a couple weeks ago, so I was with family for that. And like I just really haven't been focusing on my reading, which is something that I want to change in May. However, I still want to talk about the 7 books that I read this month. And in this pile that I have here on my lap, I have my favorite book that I read this year. And I also have my least favorite book that I read this year. So I read 2 ebooks this month. The first ebook that I read, actually I'm going to find on my phone because I don't believe I have it on my Kindle anymore because I loaned it, I didn't buy it. So the first ebook that I read this month was Sparrow by L.J. Shen. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. This was actually recommended to me by my good friend Jenna, who is also a pretty big reader. We actually have similar reading tastes and we were on a Zoom call one night and she was like, you have to read Sparrow by L.J. Shen, because she knew I loved The Kiss Thief by L.J. Shen. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this like tomorrow. So I did, and I read it in like a day. And I ended up giving it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Now, Sparrow follows an arranged marriage between, I don't know if it's arranged marriage or forced marriage or something like that, which is like a trope that L.J. Shen uses a lot in her books, between Boston's like biggest crime boss and like this random poor Boston girl. And there's just so many issues with it that I did not like. First of all, the main character cheated on his wife multiple times and I hated it so much. And I know that there's like some cheating that goes on in The Kiss Thief, but it is not to the extent that it does in Sparrow. Like Sparrow, it was unnecessary, didn't like it. I didn't like anything about Sparrow. Even like the smutty scenes were not good. Like I was reading them and I was like, okay, like this is actually kind of gross. Don't like this. Not for me. And I actually think it's like a pretty like smutty book. Like it's a little dirty. And it was, yeah, not a big fan. And like I don't love the Boston mafia thing. I think the reason why I loved The Kiss Thief so much was because it was mafia, but it took place in Chicago and I was like, oh yes, I live in Chicago, I'm digging this. Whereas like Boston, I'm like, I've never even been to Boston, I don't care. So that was like a little thing for me. Did not enjoy that one. But I did enjoy the other ebook that I read this month, and it was for my book club. So one of the people in my book club chose this one for our April pick. And that is The Last Wish by Andrew Sapkowski. And I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I loved The Last Wish. I thought it was really fun. That was really entertaining. I love The Witcher. Geralt is such a fun character, I think. He's this like moody, like stone cold like monster killer, but then he also has kind of like a soft side to him, which I really like. And I thought the novellas were actually kind of similar to how the TV show goes, but it's like not in the same order. And I actually really enjoyed the fact that I watched the TV show before reading the book because I think I got more out of the book and I felt like I could understand the fantasy world better. So The Last Wish is a collection of like short vignettes about the Witcher and like his journeys through life and like killing these monsters, and there's not a lot of world building. So I think the fact that I was able to watch the TV series before reading it, I felt like I got more from the fantasy world. Also really like the Polish fantasy elements, although the one thing I enjoyed in the series was the episode with the dragon, and that story did not come up in The Last Wish and I was very disappointed because I love dragons, but that's just me. Okay, and the first book that I finished in the month of April was actually Wolf by Ryan Groudon. This is an alternative history book following a girl named Yale, or Yal. It's a Hebrew name and I can't pronounce it, but she has to pose as this other girl who won a motorcycle race across Europe, Asia, and then ultimately to like Japan. It's like this cross-continental motorcycle race, and the winner gets to go to this like extravagant ball and meet Hitler and all this stuff, and her objective is to kill Hitler. And I thought it was really interesting. It is YA, and you can tell it's YA because the writing is pretty simple and really easy to get through. I really liked the romance in here. I really enjoyed the concept of a motorcycle race. My dad rides motorcycles and stuff, so I really enjoyed that. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It just like wasn't anything like mind-blowing to me. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, killing Hitler, what a concept like I've seen in Glorious Bastards. Like, it's not like a new idea, so that's why I wasn't like so overwhelmed by it, but I enjoyed the book. I thought it was really good. And the whole thing with the wolf by wolf thing, it was like you can do symbolism but not make it like so obvious. Like, to me, like the symbolism was just like straight up in your face, and like you can be more subtle about it, and it kind of bothered me that it was like, I get it, the wolf is a huge symbol here, like I got it, don't need to explain it every single time. So yeah, but again, really enjoyed this book. If you're into alt history, if you like YA historical fiction, this is a really good book. Another book that I read this month was Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding. I read this for the stay-at-home reading rush and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I actually think the movie's better. Yeah. I just feel like there's a lot of very like 90s references in here, and it doesn't always come across well. Like, this did not age well. Like, this was published in, I think, 96, and you can tell. So that's about it. And if you don't know what Bridget Jones is, like, she's this 30-something-year-old living in London. She's attracted to this guy named Daniel, who's also her boss. High-key sexually harasses her at work, but we'll move past that. And then this other guy, Mark Darcy, is kind of in love with her. So it's like this whole relationship book, and then she's like, I'm in my 30s and I'm single and like blah. And I'm like, okay, that's probably gonna be my future, but no big deal. And then the other book that I read for the stay-at-home reading rush was Under the Tuscan Sun by Frances Mays. This book, I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but this book is just straight up bad. And usually when I read nonfiction, I'm like, okay, can't really like rate this because it's like just straight up facts, but like this is supposed to be a nonfiction memoir about a woman, Frances Mays, who buys this house in Tuscany and renovates it and like blah 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 blah. Okay, whatever. I thought this was going to be like a really cool ode to Italy and the Tuscan countryside and like beautifully written, talk about wine and stuff. And it is, but it's not well written. It's just like her meandering thoughts, and like honestly, I could sum up this book in like one sentence, and that it's a wealthy white woman from California buys a rundown Tuscan mansion and renovates it and complains about it the entire time. So not my favorite thing. So I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars. Like, there were some parts about it where I was like, oh, I'm really interested in like this history with Tuscany and whatever, when she talks about that, but it's just like her meandering thoughts throughout the book. There's an entire chapter, like 25 pages, on olive oil, and I was like, oh my god, please kill me now, this is so boring. So did not enjoy the olive oil part and other parts in here. Oh, and she definitely uses like migrant worker labor cheap for her to like, you know, renovate her house cheaper, and I'm like, ooh, issue with that as a moral person. But yeah, this one is 2.5 out of 5 stars. Also, there are some comments in here that also did not age well. Like, this was also written in 1996, and I'm like, no, not a fan. And then I'm going to talk about my least favorite book that I read this month. If you think that I didn't like Under the Tuscan Sun, now I really hated this book that I read. And that is Beyond the Point by Claire Gibson. I've had this on my TBR for over a year, and I thought this was going to be a really cool female perspective on the military, and it was going to talk about like challenges that women might face and like experiences of women. That is not what this is. I mean, yes, it follows 3 women who are in the army and who go to West Point, but it's actually a Christian fiction novel. So book of the month, you did me dirty. You made me read some Bible quotes. screw you. Did not think it was that. And there's like some hardcore slut shaming in here. And there is very, very problematic comments on war and on specifically the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Not to get political, but this book really does romanticize that war, and a lot of people lost their lives in that war, and a lot of people didn't need to lose their lives in that war. So this was not a good one for me. And my dad was in the military for 20 years, and I know not a lot, but I know people who were in that war, and who, like my dad, like he was stationed in Spain for a year after the 9/11 attacks. So like this was like really close to home, and like I understand how this impacted families and stuff like that, because I was one of those people who was impacted by the war. And I don't think that this did a really good job of, you know, exploring those issues or exploring what it was truly like to be a woman in the military, because even one of our closest family friends, her name is Nikki, she was in the Navy for like 20 years, and she's such a badass, like so cool, and she does not take crap from anyone, like one of the most awesome like military people I know. And like I would rather see something like really cool like that. Like honestly, Cadet Kelly is a better movie than this book is. So like I think Cadet Kelly does a better job of exploring themes in the military than this book. Like this is just so bad, and 490 pages of bad. Why did I not DNF this? I don't know. It was like I was on page like 20 and I was like, oh, this isn't that good. And then I was on page 200 and I was like, this is really not good, but I'm already 200 pages in, so I might as well finish it. And yeah, that's what I read. I give this one 1.5 out of 5 stars. That 1.5 points is because I don't think that Claire Gibson is a bad writer. I think she's a good writer. I just think all of the content in here is bad. So that is that. Oh, it was so bad. Please do not read this book. Please. It's so problematic. I'm gonna get rid of that book. Like, I would honestly throw it away. I don't want other people to read it. Like, it's so bad. But I'm going to talk about my favorite book that I read this month. Oh my gosh. I read this in like a day. Like, I loved it so much. And that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This isn't even released yet. It gets released on May 19th. So when it does, everyone go buy it because it's amazing. And it has all of my favorite tropes in it. So this is a contemporary romance novel, and it follows 2 writers. And oh my gosh, I love them so much. It follows, her name's January, which I think is a dumb name, but whatever. It follows January and Augustus, or Gus, and they are neighbors at this lake, and they're also rival writers, and they went to college together, and they had this like huge rivalry, but then they're both like kind of stuck in these writing like slumps, I guess, and they help each other with writing, and they go on like cute like research dates. Oh my gosh. And then hate turns to love. There's like a lot of stuff in here about grief, because the main character January lost her dad before this book really begins, and she inherits his lake house, and that's how she ends up at the lake. And it takes place at Lake Michigan, which is where I live. Like, I could walk down 2 blocks and I'm at Lake Michigan, so I really loved that. And so like all the scenery and just everything about this book is so good, and it gave me all the summer vibes, and I just really love this book. It's so good. Please read it. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. This is only my second 5-star book of the year. The other one was Outlander, and you know how I love Outlander, so yeah, loved this book. Please buy it when it comes out. It's amazing. So that's weird. My favorite book and my least favorite book both came from Book of the Month, so you never know what you're gonna get from them. Alright, thank you so much for sticking through this April wrap-up. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content from me, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll come back to you later. Bye!